Hold on to your hats, college football fans. The Texas Longhorns just delivered a seismic shockwave, silencing their doubters and reigniting their college football playoff dreams with a stunning 23-6 victory over the number 6 Oklahoma Sooners in the Red River Rivalry. But was it a fluke or a sign of things to come? Let's dive in. Sam Conn Jr., Grace Rayner, Chris Vanini, and Dane Brugler break down this electrifying contest, revealing the key moments and lingering questions that will dominate the college football conversation this week. Arch Manning and Texas, after facing considerable early season criticism, finally found their rhythm on Saturday, securing their first Power 4 win of the year. This wasn't just any win. It was against their arch rivals, the Oklahoma Sooners, in one of the most storied rivalries in college football. The pressure was immense, and the Longhorns responded. This victory, coming after losses to Ohio State and Florida, allows the Longhorns to quiet the skepticism that had been swirling around the program. More importantly, it keeps their college football playoff hopes alive. Think of it this way. Every loss is a strike against a team's playoff chances. This win was a much-needed reset. I think what we saw today was Texas fight. Coach Steve Sarkisian declared on ESPN after the game. It was a gut check coming out of last week's game. Sarkisian emphasized the resilience and determination of his team, highlighting their ability to bounce back from adversity. But how did they manage to turn things around after a shaky start? The first half was a struggle, to say the least. The Longhorns trailed 6-3, plagued by costly penalties, a missed 55-yard field goal, and an overall inability to execute. Their offensive line looked vulnerable, and early drives stalled repeatedly. Just imagine the frustration. On their first 3 third-down attempts, they faced 3rd and 23, 3rd and 12, and 3rd and 30. Ouch! But here's where it gets interesting. The Longhorns emerged from halftime a different team. Starting the second half with possession, Manning and his teammates meticulously constructed a 14-play, 75-yard scoring drive. The drive culminated in a 12-yard touchdown pass from Manning to DeAndre Moore Jr., giving Texas a 10-6 lead. The offensive line found its footing. The run game finally gained traction, and Manning completed all 6 of his pass attempts, showcasing the potential that made him such a highly touted prospect. It was as if a switch had been flicked. The Longhorns punctuated their dominant performance with a 75-yard punt return touchdown by sophomore receiver Ryan Niblett in the fourth quarter, putting the game out of reach. Manning finished the game with 21 completions on 27 attempts for 166 yards and 1 touchdown, without throwing an interception. He also used his legs effectively, rushing for 34 yards on 4 carries at crucial moments. This showcased a more complete and poised performance from the young quarterback. Defensively, the Longhorns made life difficult for Oklahoma quarterback John Mateer, who was playing just 17 days after undergoing surgery on his throwing hand. Texas recorded 5 sacks, limiting Oklahoma to 258 total yards of offense compared to their own 302. The defense played a crucial role in securing the victory, disrupting Oklahoma's offensive rhythm and capitalizing on Mateer's struggles. This victory marks Texas's first in the SEC this season and could provide the much-needed momentum boost they need as they navigate their conference schedule. Can they build on this success and continue their playoff push? Manning outplays Mateer. Well, that wasn't on my bingo card, but it just goes to show what happens in rivalries, says NFL draft analyst Dane Brugler. Rivalry games often defy expectations, and this one was no exception. Mateer, clearly affected by his recent hand injury, struggled with accuracy throughout the game. But Brugler points out that processing issues have been a recurring problem for Mateer this season. Mateer can be guilty of throwing into a crowd without really reading the field, as his aggressiveness has bordered on recklessness all season. Mateer's tendency to force throws into coverage proved costly against a motivated Texas defense. Brugler continues, he's still an interesting NFL draft prospect, especially from a physical standpoint. His arm talent and rush ability are impossible to ignore. But I question how ready Mateer is for an NFL offense because of his sloppy processing. Poor processing has also been the main issue for Manning this season. He certainly had his share of rough moments in the first half Saturday too, but the second half featured some of his best football to date. Manning was hardly scintillating, but he took care of the ball, kept Texas out of problematic situations, and was great on third down. As we noted last week, Manning is probably better viewed as a 2027 NFL draft prospect at this point. Ultimately, we might say the same about Mateer. Dane Brugler, NFL draft analyst. Mateer plays through injury. College football writer Chris Vanini highlights Mateer's resilience. Mateer played the game with a brace on that right wrist and thumb. The injured hand was further damaged in the game when he got cut by a helmet on a hit in the first half. Blood was seen on his pants, and he cleaned it up with a towel, but didn't miss a play. Mateer's toughness and determination are undeniable. It's hard to know how much the surgically repaired thumb played into Mateer's performance, though the surgery was less than 3 weeks ago, but his mistakes were costly for the Sooners. His first 2 interceptions were forced throws and poor decisions. The second one, late in the first half, came after poor clock management from the coaches and may have cost the Sooners much-needed points. The third turnover in the second half was simply a bad throw that was behind his receiver on a third down, a down that was replayed after a hold wiped out a big Mateer run. Mateer has been known to make bad turnovers by trying to force things in. He had 2 more near interceptions in the first half and close calls in the second. It marked the 4th time in 5 games this year he's thrown an interception, a backward swing pass throw in the 4th quarter that became a fumble sent an Oklahoma drive way back, and the ensuing punt was returned for a Texas score, all but closing the door. In a battle of 2 much-hyped quarterbacks for different reasons, Oklahoma didn't have the better one. Chris Vanini, college football writer. Embedded image of Brad Spence tackling John Mateer. Manning shows poise. Manning played a good, clean game after last week's loss at Florida, says Sam Kahn. His numbers weren't eye-popping, but he played smart football and didn't put the ball in harm's way, committing no turnovers and taking only 1 sack. Manning's ability to protect the ball and make smart decisions was crucial for Texas's success. The game could have gone awry quickly because the offensive line struggled heavily in the first quarter, and Oklahoma's defense suffocated Texas with its speed by flying to the ball. Manning had to settle for short passes and punts on Texas's first 2 possessions. But Texas did not punt on its final 8 drives. 6 of those possessions ended in scoring opportunities, the other 2 in kneel-downs to end each half. Manning was accurate with the ball and used his legs effectively when needed. It's not the explosive offense that we might have expected to start the season, but Manning and the Longhorns grew up and showed some progress on Saturday. Sam Kahn, college football writer. And the Longhorns offense follows. The Texas offense matured on Saturday after an awful start, filled with penalties and 3 third-and-long situations. Manning and the Longhorns picked themselves up and methodically began moving the ball. Texas running back Quintravion Wisner was elusive, finding his way through the Sooners' defense and breaking some tackles along the way to give Texas the consistent ground presence it desperately needed to keep OU's defensive line keying on Manning. After going 0 for 3 on those first 3 third downs, Texas converted 9 of its next 12, including 6 in a row to start the second half. After a first half that resulted in just 3 points, Texas didn't panic. The Longhorns stayed patient, took what Oklahoma gave them, didn't put the ball in harm's way, and played winning football. The offensive line played much better in the second half than it did in the first, giving Wisner running lanes and Manning the time he needed to find open receivers or scramble. Manning didn't force much, but created plays outside the pocket when needed, and even ran for a pair of first downs on the ground. The Longhorns aren't going to wow anyone with their skill talent this year. This is not quite the Texas offense we saw when Bijan Robinson, Xavier Worthy, Adonai Mitchell, or Matthew Golden were suiting up for the burnt orange and white. But if the defense continues to play the way it has shown it's capable of, the offense can do enough to win games. Longhorns defense applies the pressure they needed. Texas's defense showed up in a big way on Saturday. After getting pushed around a week ago by Florida, the Longhorns bounced back by pressuring Mateer early and often. Those pressures contributed to some of Mateer's interceptions by speeding the quarterback up, which resulted in errant throws. But the Longhorns also did a superb job of corralling Mateer in the run game and not letting him create explosive plays with his legs, which he can do. The one big play Mateer generated on the ground, a 33-yard run, was negated by a holding call. Texas sophomore edge rusher Colin Simmons had his second consecutive big game after breaking out last week against the Gators. On the back end of the defense, Manny Muhammad, 2 interceptions, Michael Taffy, Jelani McDonald, and Grayson Littleton, 1 interception, played disciplined and got to the football consistently. It's the 3rd time in 4 years of the Brent Venables era that Pete Kwiatkowski's Longhorns defense has held Oklahoma without a touchdown. Texas. Playcalling topples Oklahoma. Oklahoma's defense came into the game leading or in the top 5 in the country in almost every major stat. But after the first quarter, and especially in the second half, Texas's offense was better. Both head coaches call the plays in this part of the game, and Sark was simply on top of Venables. The head Longhorn played it safe with Manning early with short and outside passes, but that opened up the middle of the field more. Texas runs that went for nothing in the first half began to consistently pick up 3, 4, 5 yards in the second, creating manageable third downs. Texas punted on the first 2 drives of the game and then didn't punt again. The next 6 drives ended in scores or field goal attempts. Vanini. What's next for Texas? The Longhorns, 4-2, will hit the road for 2 more weeks, going to Kentucky and Mississippi State before returning home November 1st to host Vanderbilt. After the Longhorns saved their season, there's a chance for them to build some momentum in the coming weeks if they can continue to grow. If they're able to win the next 2, the Longhorns can keep themselves in the college football playoff conversation heading into November. What's next for Oklahoma? After a 5-0 start, the gauntlet has begun for the Sooners. They travel to South Carolina next week, then play 5 consecutive teams that were ranked in the top 15 entering Saturday: Ole Miss, Tennessee, Alabama, Missouri, and LSU. A path to the SEC championship game and the college football playoff is still there, but the margin for error has shrunken dramatically at the midway point of the season. Vanini. So, here's the big question. Was this Texas victory a turning point or just a temporary reprieve? Did John Mateer's injury significantly impact the outcome, or were the Longhorns simply the better team on Saturday? And perhaps most controversially, does Arch Manning truly have what it takes to lead Texas to a college football playoff berth? Share your thoughts in the comments below.